All right, guys, I want to welcome you to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Show. Today, I want to talk specifically about how you can begin to dominate your days. Now,
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
Now, as we get into this episode, I have obviously done episodes where we talk about evening habits, even the transformation it's made in my own life. But I want to kind of talk to you today about how to think as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to dominate your day, leveraging evening habits. Now, what does that mean? That means that, thinking about an AM habit is really about how we start our day. An evening habit is really about how we begin to finish our day. And for most business owners that I talk to, especially in the health and wellness space, they typically have pretty good morning habits, morning routine, but where they lack is the evening. And so I want to walk you kind of through a step-by-step process of how I began to shift that. Now, maybe you are someone who's listening to this through our podcast. Maybe you're tuning in, watching it live, or you're watching a replay on YouTube. Wherever you're from, you can grab a piece of paper, a pen, or your notes and begin to kind of walk through this. So, number one, most people tell you, it's not how you start your day, it's how you finish it, right? And so, simply think of it this way, is like taking off in the morning is kind of like your morning, taking off in a plane is kind of like your morning habits, right? And so thinking of it as this, in the beginning of the day, really thinking of it as like taking off in the airplane, right? We're all focused on, having the right takeoff, having the right systems, having the right habits in place. Even, so many of the programs and gurus that are teaching out there are all centered around this AM habits, AM routines, things like that. But really, think about it this way. When you land a plane, it requires a refueling process. It requires recovery. It really requires everything to be checked, right? And they even have crews that do this. Well, guess what? Your nighttime routine should have all of those parts, and I'm going to say these parts of 5 power pillars of health. Your mental, physical, relational, spiritual, and financial health should be checked. Because these are the parts that kind of like control the plane, control how it goes. And so it gives us the best possible outcome for sleep, recovery, and really preparation for the next day. So here's something that I really shifted in this routine a couple years ago, and I want to kind of walk through it. And I've went through this before, but I want to really dial it in. So number one, most of us have a time when we all get up every single day. So whether it's 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever club you're in, most people have a very specific time. Here's when I set my alarm every morning. But where they lack is they don't set an alarm for the evening. And so their hygiene at night is very out of order. And so what I've found is that having a hard stop bedtime gives me the ability to say, okay, listen, if I'm going to get up every day at 5 a.m., in order for me to have 7 hours of sleep, I need to be in bed by 10 o'clock every single night. And so that gives me the ability to really start looking at that as an opportunity to really set up my hours when I'm going to sleep and my hours that I'm going to be awake. Now, think about it this way. If I only get 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night, that means that every single day, every single week, I am falling behind 1 to 2 hours just by that alone, by not getting that. Now, the course of that added up over a week, a month, a year can have drastic issues on your stress levels, your recovery, and your sleep, which can have a significant impact on your life, your business, and other areas. And so, you need to decide what works best for you when you go to bed and when you get up. But whatever that is, you need to probably be somewhere between that 6 to 8 hours of sleep. I do best around 7:15, 7:30. I've measured it. I've tested it. And so I know specifically what and how much time I need to sleep. Now, being that I go to bed by 10:30 every night, that means that I need to eliminate all blue screens for 30 to 60 minutes prior to that. So that means typically 10 a.m. if it's 30, 9:30 a.m. if it's 60, so I can begin to turn my phone on airplane mode. Now, here's what I'll tell you. The first hour of my day, I keep my phone on airplane mode so that I'm not checking it. The last hour of the day is the most significant part of your day, because whatever you take with you in that last hour is what you're going to carry to bed. So make sure that whatever that is, it's gone. We also want to, unplug. Some of the rules I have is I unplug from Wi-Fi mode, turn it on airplane. I move my phone at least 6 feet away from my head. And then I want to do things that are going to calm me down. So I have two routines. Number one is a 30-minute. Number two is a 60-minute. So my favorite thing to do inside of mental health is to simply just brain dump. I journal everything that may be on my mind. It's going to get out of my head and it's going to go on paper, so I don't take that to bed, because if I take it to bed, then it's usually going to affect my sleep. I tend to internalize things maybe a little bit more. So just getting them out, getting them on paper. If you tend to be someone who holds on to it, I would highly recommend this. You can also write down gratitude. Really, you could pick anything. Like, just grab a journal for 1 minute, 2 minutes. It doesn't matter. Just brain dump everything, or you can write down whatever comes to you. It doesn't matter. Spiritual health. This is, a super important focus for me, but it also reminds me to pray, maybe go through some affirmations and declare what I'm going to get done that day. Or the next day. So I'm going to pray about it and then I'm going to declare it. Okay. This might only take 1 to 2 minutes. I know a lot of people, like to pray at night, read the Bible, those things. Just pick something inside of spiritual health. Physical health. So I wouldn't recommend any exercise. I would recommend everything that's going to bring our nervous system down, which would be, typically stretching, foam rolling, mobility work, breath work. All those things bring our nervous system down. I typically only do them for about 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes I'll listen to music, but I always make sure the music is going to calm everything down. And I do not ever put on wireless headphones to do that. So this can really be anything, but I recommend, doing things that are not getting your heart rate up. That's the biggest thing. Relational health, typically put my kids to bed. I read, pray, things like that. But the most important thing, check in with my wife. Those things are, we have to put things into our kids on a day-to-day basis because no one else is doing it. So I usually pray with my daughter, read a book with her, put her to bed, and that gets me kind of tuned into what she's doing. And then you have financial health, which is, taking a couple minutes and just reviewing the tasks for the day. What did I learn? How can I leverage that into the next day? What worked in my business? What didn't work? And then who do I need to talk to and what do I need to do for tomorrow to get the most out of my business? So literally going through that whole process. And then the big thing I like to do every night is read for 10 to 15 minutes because that helps kind of calm everything down. Typically, I might read a different book than I normally would, but I stick to that protocol every night so that I can have the right sleep hygiene. I can have the right PM routine to really get the most out of it. So, I'll ask you like, hey, what is your actual routine at night? Because a lot of times what I see with business owners, they're solid on the morning routine, but where they lose it is in the evening. And then after a while, it catches up with them. It catches up with them in sleep, catches up with them in just wearing themselves out. And this is really a place where, think about it, like if you're an athlete, a lot of times, in a season, what people tend to focus on is how you play the game. But if you recover week to week, midway through the season, people begin to fall off, people begin to get injured, and they can't keep up with their recovery cycle where, this is really your recovery cycle that you're hitting every single night. And so halfway through the year, people are getting burnt out. They got no energy. They're tired all the time, but it really comes back to how are you performing, when you sleep? How are you recovering? Because those things have more to do with your energy the next day than anything that you're going to do in the morning. And sure, you can have an amazing, morning routine, but if you're dying out in the mid part of the day or not recovering week by week, eventually it's going to catch up to you. And it usually comes in some form of stress, sickness, or disease. And, I don't know about you, but if you're a business owner, you can't afford to be sick. You can't afford to have disease and some of these other things. And that's why this is so important. And so when you're looking at your evening routine and as you're listening to this, ask yourself this question, like, hey, do I have a consistent bedtime? Do I have a consistent evening routine that I can stick to and really get the most out of so that I can recover, I can sleep, and I can show up as the best version of me every single day? And think about it this way. What we put in our head that last 30 minutes of the day is some of the most impactful stuff because we're about to go to bed. We dream, we can imagine, we can do all these things, but we want to make sure we're putting in the right stuff in our mind so that we can get the most out of that. So guys, if you're listening to this, like, hey, what is one thing you can begin to shift in your PM routine? Maybe it's, setting a bedtime. Maybe it's, having an alarm clock. Whatever it is, like, what is the one thing you can shift? And then try and pick one habit in each area, set it up, maybe start with 20 minutes, 10 minutes, and just start doing it and testing out what works, what doesn't work, so that you can begin to measure and perform better at work and get better sleep and recovery. Guys, thanks for joining the show today. If you have any questions, reach out to me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. If you're watching this in the Facebook group, type in PM habits. I'll get you a PDF. You can also email me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. If you want the actual PDF to this training, drop it in the comments. I'll make sure you get it. I'll personally reach out to you, make sure we get it in your hands. Guys, we hope to see you soon.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.